And I think we're live. Hi, everyone. Again, thanks for joining me back for our final panel discussion today. We have another day tomorrow, but this is the final thing on the first day, second weekend of Touch Digital Summit. So, okay. I'm here with Žiga, Tanya, Patrick, and Samira. Thanks for coming back. I hope the audience enjoyed the talks. I definitely did, and I hope everyone did as well. If you also watched any of the I'm babbling. Never mind. We do already have some interesting questions lined up today. And also for the audience, if you have any other questions, please just write them in the Q&A or in the chat box, and we'll try to get to them. But before that, I think we should just go ahead and start. There was first, let's start with Žiga. There was one question for you before already in Q&A, which was, while working on the app, I think they were referring to Talking Tom. Did you have a specific target audience, and how did you define that target audience?
No, generally, of course we had, but it's so broad, and it's family, and when you say family, it includes everyone, So our goal for sure was that, a grandson and grandmother can sit together, play together, and have fun together. So, and I think that was important with the great success of Talking Tom to go so widely around the world, that it's unique in as a product that everyone can use this, so you can have even a PhD professor having a little bit fun during the lessons, or you have the mothers or grandmothers or even kids playing. So I would say that when we created Talking Tom, it was really a focus on being as global as possible.
Cool, thank you. I think I have a little bit of follow-up slide pivot and a question as well. It was with Talking Tom, how did you kind of take into account diversity and inclusivity as well when creating the characters? And was that part of the conversation when you were creating it?
I think when they created it, they really wanted to have something what brings fun to every home all around the world. I can share you like the story with Angela, because we came to the point when talking Angela, because of all the characters, when we introduced them, they didn't have clothes. Yes, you could buy clothes in the app, but they were kind of like naked, So, but we came to the point that, users in some countries kind of like demanded, especially Talking Angela, having a dress. And so at one point we decided that we will even put clothes on all the characters. So mostly you will see now characters being dressed, So I would say it's a little bit development through the journey when you are around the world and you experience different things. But when you are at one point so global as Talking Tom is, being in every country in the world, you need to have in mind the cultural differences, but we try to keep it as general as possible so that we don't harm any culture, and we try to really include everyone.
Cool, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I guess I want to go back to kind of go from this global to a more startup and then trying to scale questions. So for Patrick, so you're talking about focus, how focus is really important when startups are starting out, but what do you think matters on when you try to scale quickly, but also focus? So how do you maintain focus when wanting to scale to a larger market?
Right, so I think focus is really important to try and find something that works. And then ideally you want to scale after you find something that works. Yeah. What happens a lot of times is people try to scale before they find something that works. And that just ends up with a lot of wasted resources. It doesn't matter, how much money you have. If you try and do that, look at Quibi recently. You could have billions of dollars, and if you try and scale before you found something that works, you're just going to put yourself out of business. The analogy I like to give is poker. A lot of times the best way of playing poker is to be tight aggressive, is to wait for the good hand, and then once you get that good hand, get out there and start betting and raising. And it's the same thing. Being focused allows you to try to get that good hand, and once you have that good hand, then that's scaling. Then you actually need to be aggressive once you find something that works.
Cool, thank you. Well, actually, it's quite applicable because we have a unicorn in this panel today. So we have a question actually. Now that you're basically a unicorn, so what are you going to focus when you're like with expansion? What new features are you going to focus on now, or how are you going to expand? What's your plan? If you can share, of course.
Yeah, actually, we have a big plans how to grow up extremely fast, and this is a key point. Whenever you have a great funding, you can raise your team. You are able to invest money in a different thing because money is still important. So yeah, we have actually a great plan, and we want to grow up really fast and much more faster than we even grew before. So I hope the next year we might will be a double unicorn or something like this. But yeah, I absolutely agree actually that there's very important to still be focused, because this is actually our main concern whenever we are talking about, okay, we can do this, okay, we can go in that direction. This is still important that your main customers, your main product is not struggling with this, that you are still focusing on understanding for whom and for what you're doing. You're not just running through the market and do something. This is still really important, and we are trying to find this balance, how to find something new and bring more, I know, products or markets into the Pipedrive, but at some point still focusing on our clients, because actually like what we are a unicorn, it's only because we was always customer centric, and this is like kind of number one rule for us. And so I absolutely agree with Patrick with his speech about staying focused is really important.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so for Samira, I have another question as well. So a lot of times, like the companies that are getting funded today are very kind of technology focused, or maybe it's not necessarily like maybe your companies that are trying to do something good for the society, for the environment, don't necessarily always have this possibility of becoming a unicorn, becoming like super high value from the beginning. What can like companies do in your view to be able to attract more funding from with like having a different focus? That makes sense. Maybe it's like I didn't phrase the question in the best way, but I hope you got the gist.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think what Tanya and Patrick said is actually very relevant to the social impact sort of startup scene or social enterprise sector as well. Having this focus and really solving the beneficiary / customer / constituents problem. Like, what problem are you trying to solve? And then trying to identify the capital sources that would be most interested in that, whether it's private capital or it's philanthropic capital, depending on where you are in your stage or scale. So it's really the same sort of discipline applies. And where I see things fail is actually where that business discipline and acumen doesn't apply, where people are just thinking like in a very blanket, broad way that they're going to solve some social sector challenge and aren't really focused on where the root cause lies and how they're going to get at the root cause. So it's actually, I think we need to see more of this business discipline and sort of learn from the private sector and apply it to the social sector to really see these organizations succeed and scale.
Cool, thank you. Maybe like a slight follow-up question, I guess, but how do the companies that you collaborate with respond to like the impact-related activities? Like, do they follow or do they create their own programs?
Yeah, there's a lot of activity in this space now. So in terms of other tech companies, we have a lot who reflect some of our own philosophy, like they're trying to give back in terms of their capital more. They're doing more product innovation in the space, especially sort of in the Silicon Valley. You'll see that a lot. There's collaboration on how to report and tell stories around impact. So I've seen that as well. So certainly just a lot of collaboration, a lot of following our lead. I think the challenge for us is, because we're a very well-resourced company, is to figure out, even the same as, you know, how we can scale, like how we can scale the use of things like sustainability cloud and philanthropy cloud. Is the market ready to measure their philanthropic footprint? Are they ready to measure their carbon footprint? You know, are we serving this at the right price point? All that. So we're trying to, I think, grapple with those things. But in general, there are lots of sort of companies trying to take our lead programmatic, or trying to reflect what we're doing programmatically.
Mm-hmm. That's yeah. Thank you. Okay. Alina actually sent me a little follow-up as well. So in Georgia, a lot of the times, like the companies focus mostly on getting more profit and focus on growing in that sense. So how do you even start this conversation about impact engagement if they never heard about this before? How do you like encourage companies to care more and not just care about the bottom line? Do you hear me?
Tanya, right? I love that question. But
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. I would say that it's always beneficial for you in the end, and it still bring you actually the more revenue, and it's like the truth because all your social initiative, everything what you're doing, it kind of can be measurable and can bring you value in a, I know, public relation, in a relationship with the government, with a relationship with your clients and customer, and it also can help you to develop, for example, if you're focusing on some social initiative and they have a direct correlation with your audience, so it's actually also might be a part of your customer journey, of your experience, and whenever you tell them about what you're also doing or what your customers can do for all around the world, things it's also very important from my opinion. So I would say that I can't say that whenever you're doing anything extra except your direct revenue, you just lost the money, because otherwise it still can bring you much more value and actually revenue in the end. So it's true. I mean, understandable totally. It's a business. You have to think about your money to pay your salary or something like this. But anyway, I'm absolutely for sure that it's not only one way just to sell something. There are much more opportunities in the world right now.
For sure. A super interesting article yesterday about how kind of VC is functioning today, and it was essentially saying that VCs push young companies to grow a little bit too fast because they hope to create like a unicorn and quickly get to an IPO. So essentially, they are the ones that choose which company will eventually be successful. So I guess the question, where the question is going is there a way, like, do you think VCs like push companies to grow too fast, and how can companies adjust to this quick pace?
I don't know, from my opinion, nobody can change you except you, and if you are not really want to or can't do something fast, so like it won't happen, and nobody, like any kind of investment, can't like push you to do what you don't really want or not ready. But yeah, it's, I suppose, a question for the founders, for the team who are working in the companies, because if you see just a lot of dollars in your eyes and you started to don't care anything about money only, then yes, there is a problem. But it's kind of your choice to do it, I suppose, because the reality right now, like any kind of VC fund, they don't want to kill your business. They want to see you successful, and like, yeah, so it is.
Yeah. I just wanted to jump in on that as well. I think there can be a problem sometimes with VCs where they push startups to be a little bit to do too much too early and get unfocused, and it happens quite often. And it's actually really important for the founder to stay focused. You saw a good example of this with I think it was SoftBank. They had that massive fund, and they're putting a ton of money into tons of companies, including like WeWork. And a lot of these companies then try to start scaling out things and adding new lines and adding all these new services and features before they were really ready to do it and before they really figured out their core thing. And it actually caused a lot of problems for a lot of these startups. It's actually a bad thing to have too much money, and it's also a bad thing if the VC is pushing you to expand before you're ready.
Yeah, we might have read the same article then, actually.
I didn't actually read the article, but
yeah, it was very focused. It was talking about WeWork a lot and how they were essentially just pouring more and more money in to figure out maybe if we put more money in, maybe they'll finally figure out how to be profitable. But then the whole thing started basically imploding on itself. So yeah, that's cool insight. Does anyone have anything to add as well? No? Cool. Okay. I have one more question, maybe probably the last one, which is kind of directed to the whole group, which is within your companies, do you think is self-education enough now to join any of your companies, or are official diplomas still mean more, or is that still something that's being used to kind of pick and choose between people's CVs and things like that, or is like what do you look for when getting new hires?
Want to start?
I mean, for me, I like to see that if they're joining a startup, that they actually have either done their own startups or have worked at a startup before. I think to have that mentality of being able to do that is really important, because there's a lot of risk, lots of ups and downs with startups. So if they aren't ready to handle that, then it's a problem. As far as like having a degree and stuff, I mean, that's nice, but some of the best programmers are just hackers, and they're all self-taught. And so I think as long as they have the skills for it, it's okay.
I would definitely agree. Maybe I would just add that the sparkles in their eyes is so way more important. But on the other hand, what does it mean if they finish the university? I think it gives a little bit extra points that they are persistent. This would probably explain us a little bit, about that they can sit down and finish something that they have started. And at the end of the day, it's important that we have those employees as well, that we can be sure that sometimes even in the companies, you are not always working and doing just the cool, fancy, great, amazing stuff. Sometimes you need to finish the work that maybe it's not the most pleasant. So I think the university diploma kind of like shows that people can sit down and do things.
I would say, at large, the answer is no. You don't necessarily need a university diploma, but if you go sort of business unit by business unit, you'll find variation in what they're actually looking for and I think how they're thinking about it. And we do have something called Future Force. We're really trying to get in there and give people who are starting out their careers a chance. But I think a lot more of that can be done, because like a lot of the job descriptions, it'll say you need a couple years of work experience. And a lot of candidates, I feel, are stuck in that chicken and the egg. They don't have a couple years, but then they want to, get into a good company. And so they're just kind of stuck looping. So I think that's something that we could work on better, though.
Yeah, I more agree, because I would say the higher education for me, it's more about how person able to learn consistently for like a few years and be kind of focused on something. But it's not necessary absolutely. But otherwise, I still suppose that it is nice, because it can show that person can be, focused and like has something already in his life previously, because it's really also very important for me. But yeah, it's not necessary completely, and it just depends on personality, I suppose, and more on an interview than on a formal CV or something like this, of course.
Okay, thank you. I guess from my side, going to university, I think it does actually teach you quite a lot of things, a lot of like what's the word? Basically skills that you can use at any point. Just teaches you how to learn, like shows people that how to do certain things. So I think that's like definitely often more to value than the actual topics that you studied itself. So that's just my 2 cents. Cool. I think that's actually all we had time for. So I shall let you go from now, because we also need to get our friends in Georgia to get home before basically I need to get home. So thanks everyone for joining me. I hope you had a good time and got some inspiration from our cool speakers and panelists today. I just want to sum up what we heard about today. So we learned about emotion and technology, open and disruptive innovation, media, digital marketing, haptic technology, inclusivity, customer experience, and also heard a few inspirational entrepreneurial stories. But yeah, I'll see you all back tomorrow, hopefully, for our last day of Touch Digital Summit. We'll talk more about digital marketing, AI, biz dev. We have speakers from companies like HubSpot, AppsFlyer, Cision, and even Vogue, among others. So yeah, please stay tuned and hopefully see you tomorrow. And for now, after this panel, there's also another yoga session and a little wind down after this exciting. Hopefully some of you will join, but if not, let's touch again soon tomorrow. Thank you. Cool.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
last 8 seconds of the day.
Very good day, sir.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.